to Overtime the Podcast, proudly sponsored by Watchpoint. Well, now that we drop all the episodes on the video format on YouTube as well, everyone can see you mocking me. Just FYI.
Every single start. Because you hear it, and because I listened to the podcast so much before I joined, I just know that little starting sort of little bit. And even in the car when I listen to it, I'm sort of saying it in my head as well, or even out loud sometimes.
I'm glad it's, I've got it in your head, and it's like what do you call it? It's like a drone in the back of your head. Hopefully.
Yeah, I get the same thing with my little, hello, you're watching James.
Yeah. It's true. What I tried to make it into listening James, didn't we? Is that what I tried to?
Yes, I'm listening to James while you're watching me while I don't know, I'll lose track.
Yeah.
It's funny because I actually came up with that lying in bed one night thinking, I just need a little catch thing. And it just came to me. I was like, I like that.
Awesome. I think you're probably one of the only ones that does that in YouTube, right? I haven't really heard of many other people.
Probably because I'm old.
No. I mean, there's Jody with the hello. That's sort of his thing, but yours rhymes.
I think everybody's sort of got one, but mine tends to be probably a little bit more thought out.
Yes, and not just hello or, one of those type things. Yeah. Something
like that. Yeah, I think I overthought it, but I tend to overthink things a bit, so.
Well, no.
Why are you laughing so much?
No, I was going to say, this might be a bit loud. I'm opening a can. Okay, so I was thinking instead of maybe overthinking it, more like pre-planning. You're very good at making sure everything's planned well, whereas I'm a bit more of the shoot from the hip type of guy. Yeah.
You don't come across as a shoot from the hip kind of
guy. Okay, fine. I'm not that. I do plan. Actually, you know what? No, I'll take some of it back. I do plan these episodes. I make sure everything's written down. I have somewhat of a structure before we get into it. So,
as I've said before, you're the planner for these episodes. You come up with these great questions, and I just come up with random crap and try and make people laugh as we go along.
It's fine. It works, and it definitely works. It works. Well, look, I think before we started, we were just talking about how even though, I've released 2 episodes, not really that long ago, I guess last couple of weeks and then a couple of weeks before then, we haven't actually recorded an episode in a while. I have been away. I've been away for work for a little while now. I think it's been almost like 2.5 weeks when I was away. Enjoyed the beautiful summer of the Northern Hemisphere, which is kind of nice, away from the cold and wet and rainy times here. But it is nice to be back in the studio recording. So without further ado, what's in your wrist, mate?
Well, I am doubling up. I wasn't going to double up, but then I doubled up, and then I didn't mean to double up. But we're going to be talking about a watch today, which I'm very keen on. It's the MB3, the new release from Monbrey. And I've got their Sodalite dial, which is a stone dial to it. And I'm wearing it on the strap tonight because I thought I'd be a little bit fancy for you. And the other one, I went with my Roland Turbine Pilot, which is just one that...
I haven't seen that in a while.
No, and I've actually even got another one right now. I got the white dial version of it too, just happened to be on my desk.
I'm not counting that as one of your Wristchecks, by the way, because then otherwise I have to write 3 down.
If there's write 3 in it, no, keep it a little bit simple.
Nice, very good. Of course, it will monkey see, monkey do. I also have the Monbrey MB3 on, the Trinova, that's what it's called. And this one is the Tiger's Eye, which is a dial that I haven't had before in my collection. So it's really nice to be able to firstly check it out and actually have one and being able to wear one. And yeah, it's just so gorgeous. And I went with the bracelet, and we'll talk more about this, of course, in this episode. But yeah, definitely.
The color of that dial just pops because I got to have it for a couple of days in hand to play with it as well. I really like the blue because it's subtle, but then you see it in the sunlight and it really sort of then twinkles with all the stone things. But yours is like, wow.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously, I'm going to put it back up on the screen again. The dial is the star of the show, but then when you really look into it closely, you've got the indices, right? You've got the indices on the 12, the 3, 6, and the 9, which are actually made out of diamonds. So you've got lab-grown diamonds. I have some more details written down on that, but we'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that.
We'll get into that.
For sure. So, Wristchecks out of the way. It's always good to do one of these type of episodes. New release episodes. Always laugh at new release episodes because when we do this, I guess, sort of research, James knows what's coming. When we're looking at stuff, all right, what's been out? What's been out last couple of months? Sometimes we know already off the top of our head because obviously we look at Instagram, we follow things, we're part of different groups. Things pop up and we kind of keep track of things ourselves. Sometimes we have to just do a bit of research beforehand. Go, well, what's out there? And often I feel like I find something and I go, James, have you seen this? This is really cool. And that often
it's like, thanks, Praka, just purchased a watch.
Gosh,
I was like, damn, I don't think we could do these new release episodes anymore because as soon as I have to go searching for watches to sort of come up with ideas to introduce, it ends up in a watch purchase. So I'm not trying not to buy too many. I've got 3 on pre-order at the moment, and it's a bit of a trap when you got something on pre-order because it doesn't feel like you've bought yourself a new watch until it arrives. So you can almost then buy another watch because you've not bought a watch, even though you have bought a watch.
Cheat code. Is it 3, including the one that we're about to speak about today? Okay, 3 in total.
Yeah. Okay. What's interesting though is it's sort of 3 pre-orders from 3 companies in 3 different ways, which I thought was quite interesting. Yeah. It was quite interesting to think of why they've done it in a pre-order fashion, and each 3 have done it for different reasons. And so that was cool because pre-orders are fine, but they can be a little bit annoying. But then there's completely understandable as well for different reasons. So. But yeah, I got another watch on the way.
Yes, I have 2 on the way. Yeah, we're talking new releases today. So I think we'll start off with the Monbrey, which is on both of our wrists. Shout out to the guys at Monbrey, Austin, Henry, Legends. Have been on the podcast before. Really, it was great chat. So I will leave a link in the show notes. How does the show notes work on YouTube? How does that work? I don't know. Anyway, it'll definitely be on the audio version of the podcast, so show notes will be there. And actually, it will be on YouTube as well, but the links might not link out, so you might have to copy and paste. So anyway, I digress.
But those are so good to listen to, though, because especially with the small brand owners and the micro brands, it just gives so much context about how the watch came about, why it came about, pricing of it, and to me, it just builds out the idea of the watch and the brand and makes me want it even more.
Yeah. I think when we do talk about microbrands, there's so many reasons why you would get a microbrand just purely from a value standpoint and a design standpoint. But then when you do get a chance to actually listen to the stories, that's when it sort of really opens it up. So let's talk Monbrey. Let's talk the Monbrey MB3 Trinova, which is what we've got on both of our wrists. This is their 3rd release. So they've done the MB1 and MB2. I think we've spoken about both these 2 in the podcast before, both of them which we've handled as well. For me, when I think Monbrey, I think really well made and well designed microbrand watches that offer good value, but not just good value. They've done really well to give you a very dressy sports style watches, at least for the first 2 models. Now, this one really leans more into the dressy side of things, don't you reckon? It's way more dressy than their first 2 releases, in my opinion, anyway.
Definitely, and it's interesting because when you do like a full stone dial, obviously the watch tends to be that's the primary focus of it. There are so many other little bits and pieces, especially with the angular cases that Monbrey have that sort of, when you look further at the watch, but when you first look at it, you think, oh yeah, very nice stone dial. But I'm really quite impressed because what often happens is you lose legibility a little bit because that's sort of secondary to this big pop stone dial. And I haven't found that with these ones, which I do appreciate. And
yeah,
are we going to talk about it yet? I want to talk about it. I need to talk about it.
Give it 2 seconds.
I want to talk about this because it's really exciting about this watch for me. But all right, we'll hold back because I'm jumping the gun.
That's all right. So that's a good point, and I think I want to revisit that again. And if you do listen to the episode that we recorded with Monbrey, I feel like it's nearly a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. We go into it a little bit. So these guys, they used to work for Seiko. A long time ago. And they were part of the design team, and a lot of that they brought a lot of that, I feel, that a lot of that angular design to their watches as well, but done their own sort of way. Definitely that Seiko grammar of design with the case, and I love that. And that's something that Seiko do really well, and they've taken elements of it and made it their own. Let's talk a little bit about dimensions before we get into a little bit more about the watch itself and what James really wants to talk about. So
really want to talk about.
it's a 37.5 mil diameter watch, but because it's a stone dial and it's a fairly large dial, and the bezel is a fluted bezel, and it is quite thin. So it I'm going to put it back up here again. It is a lot of dial more than the bezel. So 37.5 sounds small, but on wrist it actually has a really good presence, which I really appreciate, because I think a lot of how do you say it, dressy type watches do tend to be on the smaller side. And for people like me and people like you, our wrist works fine for smaller watches. But you know what? Because you have such a dial presence, people with bigger wrists, 7.5-inch wrists or so, I would say, 7.5-inch wrists, you can wear this comfortably and it's going to look great on your wrist.
In particular, this one. And again, because it is that larger thing, because there's not too much on the dial either, it gives you more presence without being present. And I want to talk about that bezel just for a touch as well, because not only does it also help capture the light a little bit, so it's another detail, but I like how it breaks up the stone and then the case, because the case is that Monbrey angular case. If you had just a fairly basic bezel, I think it might be a bit of a weird transition. So I think it's actually really helps transition the case to the dial. I really like it because it separates it, but then blends it. And yeah, I think there's been a fair bit of thought put into this one, because it really, all the things that I thought, full stone dial, even with yours, diamonds on it, but then in hand you think, no, I can see it now.
I feel like, we know this, right? There's a trend, there's a stone dial trend, and it's been around for a little while in the microbrand scene, but tends to be usually we have a watch that we already have and we're just going to slap a stone dial on it, which is fine. But this is, like you say, it feels built from the ground up. It feels like, we designed this watch, showcase the stone dials, but not only that, everything else needs to be cohesive as well. And I think they've done that really well. I mean, and let's talk a little bit more dimensions. I know we've mentioned 37.5 mil dial, 45 mil lug to lug. So it's fairly compact, but not too compact. It's sort of that nice sweet spot. It's a 10 mil thick with the crystal. It's slips under your cuff, quite easily. Sort of, right there.
But I think the angular case of it, because anybody hears 45 mil lug to lug, I think a lot of us with our wrist size will think, oh, that's cool. But others might think, well, it's a bit small. But because it has the angular case, it gives it that sort of masculinity and presence on your wrist.
Yeah, I agree. It's strong. I don't know how you say it's strong.
I don't know. Yeah.
It is. It is. The way the lugs come down, the way you look at it from side, you're like, it's a strong case. So let's talk about what you want to talk about then.
Okay,
Go on.
I need to talk about this because it came on the leather strap and it's been paired to this specific leather, different colours depending on the dials to fit with it. We haven't talked about the dial colours either yet, but we'll come back to that. All right, because I want to talk about this. And it's really nice. I was like, oh yeah, that's very lovely. And if I wore that with a suit, that'd be lovely, but I don't do that very often. But there's a bracelet that you can get with it, and it's an additional cost, which I think is good because it's nice to be able to have as an option, because not everybody wants to have a bracelet. But in this case, I think it's a must, because it completely transforms how not only the watch looks, but how it wears. Because as soon as I put mine onto my bracelet, suddenly it was an everyday watch for me. I was like, I'm just going to wear this all the time. Whereas on the strap, this is a very formal, very, very nice, very sort of fancy watch. But yeah, on the bracelet, because also the bracelet's very nice as well. It's a very soft, very nicely articulated bracelet.
Yeah. Here, I'm trying to...
You're trying very hard.
I'm trying very hard to get the focus and while you talk.
But it then just went into my wrist and didn't come off for days. And it's interesting because on the strap I was like, oh, I'll try that on and I'll wear that out maybe for a dinner or something. And for me, it was that rule switch. So I was like, this is almost two watches in one. And I've never had quite so much of a variation between the two feels on a bracelet versus a strap.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I mentioned it to you and then you put it on and you went, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think for this watch, as nice as the leather that comes with is thought out and paired with the different colors. Let's talk colors. I mean, the one that I have on my wrist is the Tiger's Eye with the lab-grown diamonds on the 12, 3, 6, and 9. And it's really nice, actually, the diamond. And again, I know diamonds, people can get a bit funny about diamonds, especially, I guess, like, that's a bit too fancy or whatever. But it's nice. It sort of just suits the rest of the indices, because it is called the Trinova, and the reason why it's called the Trinova is mainly because of the indices, and I'm not talking about the diamond indices specifically. So, because if I'm looking at the Sodalite, which is the one that James has got. It's a triangle. Each of the indices is actually a triangle facing. So I think that's why it's called the Trinova. The diamonds actually complement it, so it actually sort of looks. If you don't look at it too closely, looking at it from afar, it all looks uniform, as though it's just a normal sort of thing. So I think it's quite nice. Anyway, I digress. You got a couple of different colors, right? You've got your Chariot, which is purple, which, people would think is my favorite, which, with the whole...
I almost went for that one as well, because I think it's a really pretty purple. And because it's a stone dial as well, it's not just purple. It has the stony effects in it.
It's beautiful. And the bloodstone, which is, again, I think I told you this before we sort of picked colors or whatever. I was kind of like, I really like Tiger's Eye, but of course I like the purple, but I shouldn't because it's predictable and I always go purple. But there's no lying here. But the bloodstone, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like you don't see a lot of bloodstone. I think there's only been one other watch recently, which I've seen this bloodstone. And it looks really nice. And again, it's quite unique, and it could be quite subtle with the green and the pops of red and white in there as well. The Sodalite's fantastic. What you have, which is the blue, is vibrant in the sun, and just that sort of nice, subtle bluey grey sort of shade in the shade, and just beautiful. And of course, we've got what looks like the standard, which is actually, it's not. It's onyx stone, so it's black stone, and it comes with the blood. So the onyx and the Tiger's Eye both come with the lab-grown diamonds, the DVS1. So now I don't know anything about cut and grade of diamonds, but apparently it's pretty good. That's a pretty decent quality of the diamond in there. And then the last one, but definitely not the least, is a Burlwood.
This is the one that whenever I mention this watch to anybody, this is the one they mention. They go, "Oh yeah, the Burlwood looks really cool."
Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of wooden dials, but I think it works really well with this whole look. It reminds me of like a really vintage Rolex Datejust, with that sort of, I don't know why, but it does. It's got that feel. Obviously, not the same case, not the same, there's many elements which is like, Monbrey, but it just is very reminiscent of old school Rolex in here.
When I see it, I sort of almost see like the photos on the website are really good though. They really make these things shine, but so in real life they might look a little bit differently, of course. But I almost see it's like a fur of an animal.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Which I think actually, I don't mean that in a good way. I don't mean that's weird.
It
just has that sort of, there's a real natural, I don't know, they call it natural burble, don't they? Yeah. So it has that real sort of organic sort of look to it, almost this sort of biological look.
I'm just going to share this to you on the chat, which is what I am talking about. Just because when I said it reminds me of a vintage Rolex, James sort of looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" So I'm put it in there, and I will chuck it in the show notes actually, so people know what I'm talking about.
See, that reminds me of the dashboard of like a 60s car, like a Bentley or something.
I wouldn't know, but yes, it does look good, doesn't it? So I do get the Burlwood, using the Burlwood, because it does seem very vintage inspired, and I think they nailed it. They nailed this release. I don't really have anything critical to say about this watch, but I guess the only thing, if we are going to be critical about it, is I think the bracelet should just be standard because it's amazing.
It's so good and so required. It just transforms the watch. But like we were chatting earlier today, it's like I do still like how it's separated because it does give people the option. Because as much as I like it and things, not everybody wants it on there. And then if you had it standard, it would have to be $300 more. So please get the bracelet. It just transforms as well.
Yeah, that's it. Get the bracelet. So we're looking at these retail for 939 Australian dollars, and which is the Chariot, the Bloodstone, the Sodalite, and the Burlwood, and the Onyx and Tiger's Eyes, both with the lab-grown diamonds, are a touch more at 1119 Australian dollars. So I will, of course, leave all the links in the show notes. So go check it out. Really impressed with it. I do like my dress watches though, so I'm a bit biased. But I am very impressed by it.
And I think it's funny that the next watch we're going to talk about, the funny one for me, it's always like an opposite to that watch.
Literally the polar opposite.
It's like a polar opposite.
This is the watch that I shared with James, and then I don't know, what was it? An hour? Not even? And you bought it?
Lucky if it was 10 minutes, realistically. Come on.
So sometimes we do this. Sometimes we share it and we say, hey, check out this cool watch. And often it's James, and James falls for it. But it's not always just James. Shout out to the Overtime, the podcast general chat group on WhatsApp. So the community group on WhatsApp. It's a nice little community growing there. Some of the listeners all jumping in and having a chat, and sort of, I guess, also just not just chatting about the podcast, but just watches in general and just life in general. And it's a good little chat group to be part of. And I threw it out there. I saw this really strange reason as to why someone bought a watch, but it was for a medical procedure. Let's just leave it at that. What would you, what's your strangest reason for buying a watch? And one of them, I think one of the answers was like, trying to remember off the top of my head. And anyway, here I am thinking we're going to get some really, legitimate answers about strange reasons as to why people will watch. But I think about at least James immediately said,
Praka made me do it. And then everybody went, me too.
And then everyone just jumped on and say, yeah, Praka made me buy the watch. He influenced me to buy the watch. So now it's kind of like, oh no, that's not how I pictured this going.
I couldn't help it. I was like, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, type that out and press send.
Well, you know what? I'm glad.
It was funny. Everybody had a bit of a laugh out of it as well.
Everyone had a great bit of laugh at it, and yeah, it was good actually. It was awesome. So it's just good to see that people are, well, firstly, I guess, listening to what I'm saying, which is scary. But I'm glad that I've guided them to watches that they wanted to buy. So let's get into this one.
Let's talk about. Can I introduce this one since I bought it?
Yes,
and I'm
please.
all excited about it.
Of
So
course.
it's on Kickstarter at the moment. Xeric. I think everybody knows the brand Xeric now. They do some rather interesting, funky ways of telling time, and they lean right into the aesthetics, and they use Kickstarter quite a lot for their releases. It's just part of their way they do it. It's not like they particularly need to. I think they're a big enough brand now, but that's what they do, and it's good. And this one's ultra affordable because it's quartz, but it's a double retrograde, 80s inspired, like a tachometer type race car thing, but it's sized in like a Casio 91 sort of case, maybe a little bit bigger than that, but it looks like a retro Casio with a double retrograde. Is that a good way of describing it?
I think so. I think you kind of described it quite well. I mean, it is kind of looks like a vintage speedometer. I think that's what they're going for, a 1980s sort of speedometer. And I think they've absolutely nailed it. I mean, Xeric, this is not the first watch that they've done with a retrograde. They do this quite often. They do many retrograde watches, and they utilize the Miyota gearbox movement as well. There was a previous one. I think, again, a few people bought it.
I almost bought that one too. I was so close to that one.
Yeah, so that one was similar sort of, I guess, function. But in terms of form, what it looks like, this is very different. And dare I say, I really like this more so than the other model.
And I also like that it's only 280 Australian dollars-ish.
Yeah.
Because it's 199 US dollars. There you go. It's 285. And there's 5 colors. There's a golden case. And then there's some multiple silver cases, but there's like a nice little lime green, and then a blue, and then a few interesting funky colors. And do you notice that they do that sort of rainbow case version? They did in that last one too, that there's always an option with a bit of a rainbow dial. And now I'm just looking at it, so they've got different loom versions of parts of them as well. So yes, so it's sort of 2 layers of numbers, and it's sort of in an arc, but in a straight line arcs, if that makes sense. And the hours is on one of them, and the minutes is sort of floating above it. And I can't wait to get this one. This is just going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a right wrist watch for me. It's going to be on, like, I'll have a mechanical on the left, and this one will just be fun on the right.
Fun on the right. Like you say, it's a really fun way of displaying time. Retrogrades are like that, but having a retrograde like this in that sort of speedometer sort of fashion, is just another level of cool. I think many brands, especially Xeric, brands like Far and Swit, for example, as well, they're trying to evoke that sort of 80s aesthetic or design, and I'm all for it. I think it's great. They got some really cool, funky colors in there as well, like you mentioned. Remind me again, you ordered the
black and orange with
yep,
the silver case.
So that's the Volta gunmetal orange, which is the one that you've ordered.
I was tempted by the blue as well. And I think I'm an 80s kid as well, so anything with the 80s really grabs me.
That's right. Yeah, look, I guess I'm showing my age. I was not an 80s kid, but I do appreciate it. And yeah, the blue, this is the Volta silver blue. Got the Volta vintage mint. Vintage mint is really nice as well. You got the Volta silver prism. That's the one with the rainbow sort of track. It reminds me of the Mario Kart Rainbow Road. I don't know if you played Mario Kart.
Your age
again. Yeah.
No, I was Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay, yeah. Look, I still play Mario Kart with my kids, so but yeah, and the Rainbow Road kind of reminds me of. And then you got the gold and black case is always nice, right? Gold and black is just goes
that actually does look. I'm not a big yellow gold fan, but it does look striking.
Yeah, and look, and it is like you say, it's a little nifty little watch. It's a 36 mil diameter. Could you say diameter? Because it's not really a.
Yeah.
The shape is almost like like you say, it's almost kind of like a F91W shape, but not. And 36 mil across and 37 mil lug to lug and 20 mil at the lug. So it's going to wear pretty well for most people.
To give it what was the lug to lug?
Lug to lug's 37. So it's quite it's quite short, but it's going to wear like an F91W.
I think it's going to be,
Yeah.
But just be really funky.
Yeah, super funky. It's got the Miota gearbox quartz module in there as well.
720 backers. That was only at 500 when I bought mine, 2 days ago? No, yesterday. Was it yesterday I bought it or the day before? So
yesterday.
Yeah, so there you go. 200, 300 backers since I bought mine yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, they like to do limited numbers, but they're limited, but not so limited because it's kind of like a Seiko limited. So
I was going to say Seiko limited
1,000.
So limited.
I think it's,
don't miss out on
59 per colorway or something. So look, it's not really that limited, but in saying that, they've got 18 days to go in the Kickstarter. They were looking for a goal of $10,000 and they've smashed it at $158,000. So they've surpassed it by far. So yeah, it's going to definitely happen. Xeric is, I know it's a Kickstarter, but Xeric is an established brand and they've delivered watches from time and time again. So yeah, I think this is a great value watch as well. Nice, fun watch to have.
Yeah, I think there's already 720 of them sold. I think there's going to be thousands of these sold. And because it's quartz and affordable, but it's quartz different. Like a standard quartz, I appreciate them, but I don't really get drawn towards them. But this is quartz and different. And that makes a difference for me.
You're right. It's nice to see people, experimenting and trying something different, right?
Yeah. And I love the Retrograde move. I've been trying to find one for myself in a mechanical version, and finding an affordable Retrograde watch is, especially I like the seconds when they move. This one doesn't have a second, but it's difficult. So I think this will, I was going to say scratch that itch, but it's scratch that itch. Yeah, no, scratch that itch.
Oh, nice. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So I think we already did mention the price, but I'll do it again. It's $199, so roughly about 285 Australian dollars. And I think MSRP on these are $299. Yeah. So, I mean, you're saving $100 if you order it through Kickstarter. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Well, what have we got next? Okay, let's talk closer to home. Erebus. Jody and Stephen Erebus from the Australian Microbrand. This is a reissue. What is that the right word to say? No, it's a reiteration.
Gen 2?
Gen 2, that's it.
Because it's more than just a different case size. There's changes to it, which...
And this
turns it from because I had the first one. It was a great watch, a very tooly watch, which is what he was going for. And I remember saying at the time, if I'd bought this 3 years earlier or 5 years earlier, it would have been like my best watch in my collection. But I'd kind of already gone down the buy, sell a bit.
Yeah.
This is the one that I actually wanted because the size is now 40, which is like a spot on for me. But it's also those applied markers and those reshaped hands, and it's just got those extra couple little details.
Yeah, I think you're bang on right. It's for me, when the Origin first came out, I liked it. I thought it looked great. But I personally, there's some bits, like you say, it felt a little bit like, it was a great first release. But when you've handled plenty of dive watches in and around that price range, maybe more, I wouldn't say, because the pricing was excellent when it first came out.
Excellent, yeah.
Like excellent. So mate, it was a bit unfair to compare it to. But you thought, okay, like exactly like what you said. Maybe it was released 2 years ago. I'd been like, oh, very impressed. But there's plenty around. But this feels like a much more polished product. I mean, obviously, I'll link a video in the show notes. We've watched Jodie's recap of showing what's changed, and there's so many little bits that's changed.
You can definitely it's still the same family and it's still the same model, but yeah, it's the next iteration, the evolution of it. That's how it feels like to me.
100%. And, just to show how popular this watch is, again, I'm going back to the overtime general chat. I mean, just today, there was 4 different people on the chat group who said, oh yeah, NWA new watch alert. And one was the Meteorite, one was the black dial, one was the teal dial, and, or maybe it was 3. Sorry, it was 3. But still, it just goes to show, like, oh wow, these watches are fantastic. People love to.
The white one's already sold out.
I know, and that was the one that's caught my eye. Okay, good. So I think we're aligned in many ways, and definitely that was the one.
What white dial divers as well at the moment for some reason. I know you're having the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about a white dial diver. Seems to work.
So good. I mean, and this is not just any white dial, right? It is a white full lume dial as well. So it's got that slightly glowy sort of thing. So let's talk a little bit about specs. How
this is thinner as well because it's a new movement compared to the previous, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. So they're using the 9015, which I think out of the MB3 is also Miyota 9 series. The reason why it's well used, it is a fantastic movement, and it gives you the ability to have a thinner case. So yeah, they've got 40 mil case, 20 mil lug width, and 12 mil thick on the wrist. I mean, for a proper diver, I reckon that's a great size, great proportions as well. And I love how they give the H-Link and the J, the Jubilee style bracelet as well. I love the Jubilee style bracelet. That's sort of my go-to on a diver. And even the H-Link's nice. H-Link gives it a bit more of a tooly feel. Jubilee obviously gives you a bit more of that dressy style feel. But yeah, they've nailed it, haven't they? The applied markers with the lume blocks as well. Like, man. And Jodie loves this lume. And it's going to look good when the lights are off.
Like the Meteorite. I don't think I've actually had have I had a watch with the Meteorite dial? Yes, of course I have. I must have. But it's nice on a diver. Yeah, but I like it on a diver because it just adds that little fun element as well, which I think is quite cool. And I'm a bit of a silvery grey watch person, as you probably are aware. Look at my watch collection. Like, why is half the dial silver? I didn't realise that was going to happen.
Yeah, it sort of just happened.
But it just happened.
It just happened. Didn't mean to. But no, this is such a no-nonsense tool watch, like it's got that hardness coating, 1200 Vickers scale hardness coating on for the stainless cases, and the DLC case, which is, so, going back a touch, we've got 8 different coloured options in the Origin 40. You've got Meteorite, the DLC, white, black, blue, teal, orange, and what's the other one? Purple. So I can't forget purple, of course. So yeah, it sort of reminds me of, like, I think I said this when I was handling the Origin 1.0. It's like, it very much felt a bit like a helm, where, had the elements of helm, had some elements of Zin, had some elements of, of like a proper dive watch. But this one, to me, look, obviously I haven't seen it in person, just feels like a little bit more refined. It's sort of moving more into this looks more, it doesn't, not visually per se, but I don't know, has a bit more refinement, like a Zin, has a little bit more of that elevated look to it, which I think, kudos to Erebus, they've done it well.
No, and it's good. It's obviously, it shows that they're learning as they go as well. And Jody certainly knew what he wanted when he was making things. But as you don't know until you do. Even though you might have handled 1,000 watches, it's a very different game when you then produce a watch. There's a lot of lessons to learn and a lot of things to be mindful of. And I know I find it quite interesting. Each model, it's almost like he targets one thing that he wants to be really, really good. You notice that?
Yep. What would you say is for this one? I think I know, but what do you think?
I actually think it's the refinement of the case and making it thinner is something that he's trying to get in this one.
Yeah. You're probably right. I was going to say the applied loom blocks, so the extra loom, because Jody always loves his loom, right? So it just feels like this.
I love his loom.
Yeah, so it feels like we've got to make sure we get all the loom. But I am going to say I'm surprised there's the lack of loom shots on the website. I would have liked to have seen some more loom shots.
I was just thinking that the website looks more refined as well. There's all these like, you know how Rolex has those when you look on their website, the watch is spinning around and you're seeing it from all angles and it's like this 360 thing. It's like, oh, that's what they're doing now. Like that cut. Is that AI doing that? How do you do that?
This is a 3D modeling. It's all 3D stuff. That's cool. I like that.
It's good visuals.
It's like, good visuals.
Oh, look at that. Oh, it's spinning around.
Yeah, you're right. It is nice. Yeah. Just little things. Like even the clasp looks more refined as well.
Yeah, I like that. I think they've gone for refinement. Even and they've put the logo on the clasp differently now, and it feels like refinement, and then add a few things. And yeah.
I think this is a great. For me, this now gets it up to that Ascent level. And I think I said this to you before as well. I always found, the Origin was the first one, but the Ascent was what made Erebus sort of like, oh yeah, this is great.
And they say it too. It's the reason why that one stays in my collection and remains in my collection now. I've got my 39 Ascent, and I was wearing it this morning actually. So
there you go. But then now this Origin 40 is sort of like, hang on a minute. Here I am.
So what are they going to do to the Ascent next? I know they've lent into the Ascent quite a bit with a few different variants, so... I'm still waiting for my 24 to arrive, so I think that's going to be cool.
That's right. Yeah, that was a cool watch. Let's talk price. It's $699 for the DLC and the white dial. So the white dial unfortunately sold out. If we know Jody and Stephen, this will be back in stock soon enough. Anyway, the black, orange, purple, teal, and blue. There's $629 Australian dollars, and that nice meteorite dial, which looks really good.
I like the meteorite. I think it looks good with the black outside of the hands.
Yeah. And especially with the hardness coating as well, because hardness coated stainless steel darkens it a bit. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of my SPB 143 with the grey and the darker sort of coating on the case and the bracelet. Ooh, there you go. I feel like you might be in trouble, James.
I've had multiple people message me saying, "Are you getting the new 40mm?" It's like, I don't wear much divers. I've got my couple of divers in my collection now that they're my divers. So if I buy another one, I've done this recently. I bought a couple because I really like them, and they're great, but they just sat there. And I was like, I feel so sad. These things that I love, but I keep going for the couple that are like my go-tos.
Yeah, I kind of do the same with my divers as well. It's the Helios or my SPB, which gets rotated pretty much all the time, and the Turtle. So yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one. Now, this is another one of those ones, so please go ahead.
Why isn't there two in this one recording where I'm the psycho who got the wallet out?
I swear I didn't plan it this way. It just happened. But please, what are we looking at?
I think we're looking at something that got me so excited that I made a video about this before the watch has even been created. That's how excited I was about this watch. And it was from a very nice guy who's actually known quite well within the Microbrand space, even though before he hasn't even made a watch. And he's done something very different. His name is Alexander Alboum. He's called the brand Alexander Alboum. And the watch is called the Ripl without the E on the end of it. And I don't even know how to describe this thing. It's lots of lines embedded into the titanium cases, but there's two discs on the dial that spin. The inner disc is your hour hand, and there is a little hour hand, but the hour hand is attached to the disc. And then there's an outer disc, which is the minute hand, which has a little minute hand on there, and that spins around as well. And I don't know how he's done this, because isn't that the wrong way around with how it attached to the movement? I don't know. I think you're going to be better at describing this. You seem to be able to describe this.
I'm going to give it a go.
I'm so used to showing things on screen and going, look at that.
I have to rely on my words. So let me give it a go. I think it's pretty much in the sense that, you know, let's start the case first. So we're talking about a titanium case, and the case design itself is very interesting. You've got these engraved vents basically on the side of the case, and it almost looks like a car grille, like a vintage car grille, if you look at it from the side. I think that's what his inspiration probably is, to be honest. So if you really look at it, it almost looks like a nice Americana kind of car grille, and it's just engraved on the side of the case. And then and then the lugs almost look like big leaves that's kind of coming out from the side of the case. I don't know. Or it looks like side mirrors of a car. That's what it kind of looks like to me.
You know those old cars where it was an Oldsmobile or something, and on the front they've got these chrome cone things sticking forwards or something. And I don't know what they even do, but they kind of look a bit like that. Yeah. And those grooves on the side of the case are infilled with color as well.
Okay, like lume or just color.
The
color of the dial.
Color of the dial, the hands, or the
color of the hands
matching there.
So let's talk about the dial itself again. So yes, it is concentric guilloche on the whole dial. So the whole dial's got 3 different concentric guilloches. So it's been engraved onto the dial. And as you've mentioned already, so on the outermost ring.
I like how you're using your hands. This is an audio medium.
I know. Well, this is going to be on YouTube.
Tucker is waving his hands around, trying to describe to you what he's meaning, and you guys are listening.
Well, it helps me visualize it. So,
I can talk. I use my hands all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got your indices on the outer track, and then your minute and your hours are on 2 other discs that rotate around. So instead of, like you say, instead of the hands moving around, the hands is actually fixed to the hand, singular hand is actually fixed on the disc, and then the disc rotates around. So it's pretty cool. So one, it's minimalist, so you can, I guess it's legible, but it also helps. There's enough going on in the dial itself, right? Because you've got all these guilloche patterns on there as well. And yeah, it's just so different. And look, I will say one thing before I hand it over to you. Initially, when I first saw the render, just looking, from the flat image, I couldn't tell the details. I didn't really know what was going on. I thought, oh, this looks cool, but I didn't get it. Only when you start looking at it from the side, from an angle, and then you realize, wow, there's really more to this watch than what it initially seems. So I guess to the listeners, and the viewers on YouTube, it's gonna take me a while to get used to this. But go and have a look at the website in the link and scroll down, have a look at the different sort of angles, so you can actually see,
especially that sort of slightly side-on view. That's the one I've got up on my screen because it really shows off the watch.
And that's right. And let's talk about the movement as well, right? Because they got a pretty interesting movement in there.
And they're using the premium grade version of it, which apparently is premium.
So this is the Hangzhou 5000A micro-rotor movement. So I think this is quite popular nowadays. Quite a lot of microbrands are using it.
It looks good and it's cool, but it also then helps with thinness. And they're also available as well, which is probably a little bit of a reasoning. But I think it's also a movement you look at and go, ooh, cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit of, I guess, a novelty, micro-rotor movements. And they're not the only brand that use Hangzhou movements. A lot of micro brands out there use it. Baltic and Lawson are the 2 that come front of mind when I talk about that.
MMI has got one.
MMI, that's right. Yeah. So plenty of people to use it. And my understanding as well, and this links a little bit to your something interesting later on. They're in terms of reliability, the Hangzhou movement is more reliable. From what I've heard. Who was I talking to? I think it was Jason from Lawson. He used to work quite closely with the Hangzhou factory. I think he mentioned that. So I hope I'm quoting the right person. But basically, he said that the reliability of the Hangzhou movements are better than, say, Seagull movements. So I guess there's always a bit of hesitancy about, using Chinese movements or whatever. But to be honest, the Hangzhou movements have been used in other micro brands. And also, it comes with a 3-year movement service warranty that's on top of a 2-year general warranty as well. So that's pretty insane.
Yeah, I got to chat to the brand owner a lot, and this is a very well thought out watch. There's a lot. This is, when you sort of talk about, jumping into a new micro brand, and you just get an incredible watch for realistically a very low price, and because it's a brand new brand, nobody's ever heard of them. And there's a bit of, these are renders. These are not even pictures of a watch. So you're buying a watch off renders. So there's a little bit of a leap of faith going on. Payoff is you get something that is incredible for the cost, because these are $875 and this is the kind of watch and the design and the quality that I already can foresee the quality of this one. That's going to be half what a sort of established micro would be charging for this.
And
it's one of the benefits of jumping in early with some brands.
It's a risk versus reward type of thing, right? It's a trade-off, I know, but in saying that, I'm pretty sure he does have a working prototype, he has one at least, isn't it? I've seen some photos of it, or he's got
a lot of prototype parts and bits and pieces in it. So and he's already got a design, and everything's in place to actually make them. This is not I've come up with a design and let's try and figure it out now. This is it's ready to go. Pre-orders are in. We're going forward. Everything's lined up. Everything's been organized. He's put it through a website that is very well known for producing and working with them as well. There's something about them, I can't remember the name, but everybody kept talking about themselves. It was something special.
You mean a fabricator?
Yeah, I think it was a fabricator or something or other. There's and one of the other brand owners that we know quite well knows him really well and just vouched for him as well. It's like,
that's right.
This guy, if he says he's making a watch, he's making a watch, and he's bought one himself. So
yeah, exactly. So, and that's the thing, like you've mentioned, sometimes it feels like a leap of faith, and to be honest, do your research, obviously make sure absolutely. If you see a watch that's just full of renders and there's nothing else to the watch, make sure you check what you're buying, look around, ask people in the industry, or ask people who, like I said, YouTubers, or, ask us, why not? Hey, what do you guys think about this? Honestly, do it, because the last thing you want is losing your money because you've bought into something. And that's happened before. Unfortunately, it has happened before. And I think I remember a brand a while back, actually, who, same thing, they went out to sell watches, and I think all they had was some 3D renders, but they got really roasted for it. They didn't have any, people were like, oh, I'm not going to buy a watch from you because all you got is 3D render, blah, blah. And to be fair to that brand owner, he said, yep, I'm taking down my sale page or Kickstarter page, and I'm going to restart, and I'm going to make the prototype and go for it. And he did. Kudos to him. In a couple of months' time or whatever it was, he started it again with a working prototype, showing the people what it was, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm happy to say that brand is still going really well, sold a lot of watches, still selling watches, and one of our listeners as well, Sebastian, as I'm talking about, he knows exactly what watch I'm talking about. He's got one of their watches, and he loves them. So like you say, sometimes you just got to be careful. But look, if you look at the website, like for example, you go to the purple dial, which of course purple is, there's 3 watches left.
And that's interesting because they are limited to 32 each. You get to pick your number. But what's interesting is it shows how many are sold as well, because usually you don't get that, do you? No. Yeah, there's 3 left out of the purple. The blue I've ordered the blue, and there's still quite a few blues left. There's like 15 blues left.
Yeah, same with the green. There's still quite a bit of greens left. Yeah.
Interesting. There's not many of the yellow left. And that one, when I was probably the least popular when I bought mine, and I was watching, and now a few weeks later, I was like, oh, everybody's jumped onto the yellow, because I was very keen on the purple. But I tend to default to blue.
I like the purple, of course, but the yellow I like as well. And I think before we sort of move on from this watch is how we talked about in the case, there's the engraved part of the case that's got color in it. It not only does have color, it's actually lume.
It is lume.
That is cool, man. That is awesome. Wow.
This is going to be a special watch to own.
You can feel it.
I can feel it. I'm going to be getting a custom strap for it. Or actually, I know exactly what strap I'm going to put on it. And you already know what strap that is going to be.
Oh yeah, I know, and it's become a bit of a meme. Let me hang on. How can I send this to you? Hang on, have a look at the chat, and I'm going to send you. Can you see that? Can you see that link that I've just sent you?
On the chat, give me a second. Ooh, that's glowing.
Yeah. It's glowing. I just sent him the photo of the, yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
I'm sure it can't possibly look like that in real life, but imagine if it did. That looks like there's an internal light source.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a render and everything, but hey,
that would be awesome.
Let's see. It remains to be seen. Let's see how it goes. We'll test it out. All right, now we're almost done there. Let's wrap it up with the very last release we want to talk about. It's a collaboration, and this is not their first one either. This is it is their, I don't even know which one, but it's at least their third collaboration, if I'm correct. But yeah, this is a collaboration between Nodus and Raven, the Trailtrekker Carbon. So the Trailtrekker is a GMT style watch, a GMT diver, and this one is two great brands in Nodus and Raven making like an infused carbon watch, and it's awesome. There's just not a lot more to say, but yeah, it's fantastic.
It's very cool. I do like that lumen fused dial, because, and the good thing about, I think, the lumen fused stuff is it just looks like an interesting pattern normally, but then you turn the lights off and then you see, whoa, it's like a milkshake or something. I don't know how else to describe that.
It feels like, you know, the night sky, I don't know, like a galaxy.
The Northern Lights type thing.
That's true. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it just feels like, I don't know, a bit of space and, you know, infused carbon just sounds cool. And
it does sound cool, doesn't it?
It just sounds cool in general. And not only the dial, it's also the bezel as well. So it, you know, it gives you that sort of extra element. And, you know, it's got these, it's got the DLC coated case as well. So it all sort of looks the part, that sort of stealth, but not so stealth when you're in the dark. Like it just feels, it looks really cool, like I think cool is the right word, isn't it?
I think cool is exactly the right word.
Yeah. And, you know, in terms of design, like as a whole, as a case design or whatever, it's a fairly standard diver design, right? It's, I guess, a diving GMT sort of design. It doesn't really go too far away from it, but it looks, you know, well done and well executed. I love the Nell crown on there. It's always...
I like the crown there. It feels very toolish, and if you're wearing this diving, you know, you could easily grab onto that if you need to. And
yeah, exactly.
It feels very tooly.
Yeah,
a tooly crown.
Exactly. And the bracelet looks really nice as well. Again, still got that DLC coating on it. It looks like a flat link style bracelet, and you know, from what I can see, it's probably going to be draping very nicely as well. And it does come with, it also comes with like a rubber strap as well.
The integrated lugs?
Yeah, I don't like that though.
You don't like that? I love that feature. I think it looks fantastic. I know you don't like it. For me, it blends the strap into the case.
No, I know. That's my little pet hate. I've talked about this before. I don't like that. Don't like the N-Link, integrated N-Link rubber strap thing. But hey, look, people love it. So it does look good. And the coolest thing is Nodus, they have got their sort of it used to be called the Nodex extension system, or their, what we call it, adjustment system. And now it's called the NEM, which is their quick adjustment system. I think, they've called it NEM because I believe they were sued by someone quite big in the watch industry, the proprietary adjustment. So they had to rename it to the NEM, and I believe it has been updated as well. It used to be called the Nodex system. And the cool thing about their proprietary sort of system is, one, it works pretty well. I don't know if you've had a chance to, it does work really well. Because I feel like sometimes this quick adjust don't work as well as advertised, don't you reckon?
Yeah, true. Sometimes it can be a bit of a, look what we did versus it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the cool thing is they sell the Nodus extension module, which is NEM. They actually sell that to other companies as well to use in their watch. For example, Dorenzo uses the NEM system on their watch. Yeah, so if you flip it around and you look at some of their watches that has the extension module, and you look at it and you go, it says NEM on the inside. And they're not the only one that use it. There are other companies that use the Nodex system, or sorry, I keep saying Nodex system, the NEM system on their watches. And yeah, it looks, and it's just a well-designed system. Let's talk a little bit more about the specs. So we've got 39.5 case, 11.8 mil thick, and 46.6 lug to lug, 20 mil lug width. You know, it's that sort of sweet Goldilocks diver size, I would say. Box sapphire crystal. We already talked about the dial, talked about the bezel. It's also got a really cool loomed date wheel as well. And of course, we can't forget that it is a collaboration watch. So on the dial, it says Nodus, and it's got the Raven down the bottom for the Raven watches logo as well. So yeah, it's kind of cool. They got that collaboration, and they actually have both on the dial, and the Raven being very subtle as well, just sort of blends into that infused carbon, doesn't it?
Yeah. I quite like the dual logo on the dial as well, I have to say. I think that does look kind of cool. It's kind of like balances out the dial in a different way, which I quite like.
Yeah, I think it's just a no-nonsense sort of dive style GMT. And the only thing I haven't checked is what is the movement in it?
I was just looking at that. I can't see it anywhere. And I think partly it's because it's not even released yet. As of today, it's going to be released for pre-orders, but it's today in Australia when we're recording, but it's then yesterday, tomorrow in US. If that makes sense when we're actually recording this.
I think it says, there you go, ordering opens on July 22nd, 9 a.m. Pacific time, and shipping begins July 24th. So they obviously have made all these watches, which is kind of cool. So there's no real pre-order sort of thing. It's just you order it and you're going to forget it. So I will do best endeavors to get this episode out before then, so people can check it out and hopefully they can order it if they would like. Yeah.
It's the Miyota 9075 GMT.
Perfect. So what is that? Out of all the watches you spoke today, that's 1, 2, 3 Miyotas. Actually, four Miyotas.
I was just thinking it's 4 Miyota.
4 Miyota and 1 Hangzhou move. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool to see. This is $1,075 US. As you said, like a dive watch that's probably a bit more premium than some of the others. But the finishing and the proprietary technology on it as well. And you see the infused carbon and, there's a lot of little things to like about this. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think Nodus watches in general, they do, as you say, they're a premium sort of micro. I've owned one before, and just the design was so nice, and the case shapes are really so nice. And I've seen quite a few interesting videos where they do some great collaboration with people as well, and everybody that works with them is just blown away by how nice they create their watches.
Yeah. No, I've yet to own a Nodus. I've definitely checked out a couple, and maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Watch this space.
Let's see if I can convince you to buy one whilst we chat.
No, that's not. All right, well, that's it for the new releases today. So let's get on with our something interesting section. I will start because my something interesting today is not a TV show or anything like that, which I normally would do. It's a watch. And the reason why this watch isn't in the new release is because as of our recording right now, 16 minutes to go and the Kickstarter ends. So I figured by the time I actually release this episode, it's not going anywhere. So
it's a not just released watch.
That's it, just released watch. So I mean, maybe you could buy it after. So at least, it's in there. So you can go check it out. Now, this one's a bit weird, if I'm being honest. Weird is probably the way to...
Right up my alley there.
Yeah. So it's the D1 Milano, which is a micro brand that's been around for a while. Look, I like some of their stuff. Some of their stuff really borders on, for me personally, homages. More so than, I guess, the micro branding space. But this one's very different. So they've collaborated with Peter Tarka. So Peter Tarka is a 3D designer. I think he's done a lot of cool designs. He's worked with Apple, he's worked with Nike, he's worked with Google. So he's got all these awards. So, he's clearly a very good designer. And then they've made this watch, which when you first look at it, it sort of reminds me of, enough for me talking, what does it remind you of when you first look at it?
My first thing I got from it, Casio did a re-release recently. It had the 4 buttons on the base.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that came to my mind, because it has these little large discs. And on the Casio, they're buttons and things, but on this, they're actually moving parts, which are also telling the time.
That's right. So there's not buttons. There's 3 dials. It's a squarish case. So, I mean, I've got an elephant in the room. It does look like an Apple Watch in a sense, it's got that sort of case shape, and I guess it probably presents like one for someone of the, I guess, if you don't know what it is. But that's where it kind of stops, right? That's pretty much the case. But then when you look at the actual dial itself, you've got these 3 sub dials or 3 knobs, like a speed, like a dial, turning up and down. And they move. One dial is hour, one dial is, if I'm correct. So what is the actual? So one dial is the hour, one dial is the minute, and one dial is the second. So they rotate, and that's how you tell the time in that medium. But then you also can, of course, tell the time in a little Ani-Digi display down the bottom as well, a digital display. So it is Ani-Digi, isn't it? But in a weird sort of way.
I do like how they call it the impossible watch. Is it maybe impossible to read?
Yeah.
No, and I don't think actually it's impossible to read, but it is. It's definitely leaning into a fun watch and something different and interesting. And it kind of feels like it should be in those retro futuristic space movies.
That's exactly
this could be like the Alien movie from the early ones.
Ripley will be wearing this instead of the Gagario Seiko, maybe.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think it's something different. Again, there's a reason why it's on the something interesting more so than the new releases stuff.
People like it because of 940 backers.
Jeez, yeah, that's a lot. And yeah, they've smashed their goal, of course. I think they're
590,000 Australian dollars, and their goal was 20,000 Australian dollars.
There you go. What do I know?
How much are they? Are you going to get me to buy another watch? I hope not.
No. Well, you got 16 minutes if you're going to pledge. Make that 12 minutes. So let's see if we can make you buy a watch in 12 minutes. So you got 300 and...
It's cool, but I don't. It'd be one of those ones I'd look at and go, oh, that's so cool, but then not wear it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
379 Australian.
No, it's actually $379
US dollars
for the white space and orange pulse.
And then you've got Australian.
Yeah, about 543 Australian dollars. And then you've got a black orbit, which is like a full black and an orange subdial area. And then you've got a green one, which is 429. It's a little bit more. And it's very futuristic. Initially, I didn't get it until I read it a little bit more. It definitely is, as per the segment, something interesting. So check it out. I'll leave the link in the show notes.
It's one to look at just to see how interesting and cool it does look. Even 2001 Space Odyssey, for some reason, that's really pinging in my head.
Yeah, all those space movies. Martian, he's wearing one of these. Yeah. Anyway,
so you can see the different generations there. I'm talking about 2001, and he's talking about the Martian.
Look,
I do like Martian. That's a great movie.
One of the, that's Stanley Kubrick, 2001 Space Odyssey. It's a legendary movie, legendary director.
But before my time as well, by the way, just so you know.
Poor James. Yes, definitely before that. All right, James, what have you got?
Well, I got contacted by, I'm not going to go into who it is or anything because I don't think that matters because it's not the funny part because it's just quite a funny thing. I got contacted by a watch brand offering me to give me a watch to feature on my channel, and I'm very lucky. I do get quite a few offers from things. I don't say yes to everybody, but it's quite cool. And I clicked on the link and they were talking about it being a new generation of this pre-existing watch, and there's all these it's a Chinese company, so maybe there's a few interesting advertising slogans thrown out there, but I was scrolling down and going, well, what do you mean this? And they were talking about, the next generation of movement. I was like, next generation of movement? Okay. And then it's Seagull movement, the Caliber ST1780. I was like, is that a next generation movement? But then they were describing a design of watch which that didn't relate to, and I was scrolling down looking at the pictures, and then it had a big picture of the movement, and it actually looks quite nice, and in big letters, it says low failure rate edition. As in that was like the advertising tool. This one's the low failure rate edition.
My gosh. I can't believe that. That's the...
I immediately screenshot and said that to you.
Hence my, previous, what I talked about, the Hangzhou movement and the failure rates of movements and stuff. That is an interesting way of advertising a watch. And, I can't... Seagull movement... That's what a lot of people say, is that the failure rate on these Seagull movements is quite high. So I don't know what they did to do that, but I don't really think that's quite the feature that they think it is.
I can see what they're trying to do, but it seems to be a bit, it's like, oh yeah, we can buy this other one for a bit cheaper, but that's the high failure rate edition. If you want the low failure rate edition,
60% of the time it works.
It's the low failure rate edition.
I love it. We will not be leaving a link to that.
No, not that one. I'm thinking about saying yes to it just to see if it fails on me.
Yeah, you got to do some road testing.
Although I've never had a Seagull fail on me, though, to be honest. I've had lots of them and they've all been fine. But still, maybe I've had the low failure rate editions.
You didn't even know. It was just special. You just got it. Classic. Well, look, on that note, I think we've come to the end of the episode. I think we set out to try and get this episode under an hour. That was a fail.
By the way, you were trying to sell me another watch. I'm pretty sure that was the subtext of this whole episode.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
How can I get you to buy all these watches?
But listeners and viewers, if you do end up buying one of these watches, let me know. It's always fun to hear. It's always great to hear that these episodes have, caused you to go get some. I'm pretty sure the Erebus Origin, there's a few people who bought it there, and you bought the Alexander Alboum. The Volta, someone else bought the Volta as well, didn't they? As soon as we shared it.
I get the feeling a few people, because it's relatively affordable and it's just super cool. So I think that's,
cool.
I'm looking forward to that one now. But yeah, now I've got these 3 watches on pre-order now. I was like, I just need these watches to arrive now. I've got to stop buying pre-order watches.
Yeah. Well, there's only 2 for me, so yeah, not as much. Anyway, on that note, leave it right there. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.